Yeah, the nitrogen treatments you saw on the slides there is side dressing, middle of the season with just nitrogen.
My question with that is, we know that the compost and even the manure is a much more complete source of soil fertility than
Yep.
nitrogen. How much of that organic matter was coming from the organic matter applied? Or how much of it may have just been the healthier plants producing more sugars and fixing more organic matter as well?
So both play a role. So where's the organic matter coming from? It's a better crop, it's a better root system, it's better holding on to everything. But it's also bringing in the organic matter with the compost specifically, not the liquid manure so much, but the compost definitely. In our research, we couldn't split that out. So we're looking more at systems approaches of what happens when you apply compost versus manure. There are 17 essential elements, and they're all in manure, and they're all in compost.
My question might be, you might want to consider for future research throwing in a little more than nitrogen on the chemical side and seeing what role that has.
So for that purpose, we soil tested the heck out of this field. We probably lowered the surface level by a certain amount by all the soil sampling we took. But we made sure that none of the other elements were limiting. As soon as you get below thresholds, that's not a fair comparison anymore. So we did have starters under the corn years to address some of that. When we had extremely low P levels, we addressed that also. So it really is a nitrogen difference we're looking at in terms of finding out where the optimum ceiling is for fertilizer. We only showed you 3 nitrogen rates. We actually have 5. So we could determine what the optimum N rate was, and we could also determine that our fields that had received the manure in the past went beyond what we ever could achieve with just the fertilizer. So it's showing the benefits of the manure. It would have been a much longer presentation if we had put in all the treatments and showed you those comparisons, but we did take that into account. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can always throw it down. Thank you.
So just to finish things up this afternoon, Tim is going to go through a little bit of information that we have printed in our product information guide. There's a lot in there that can help you make decisions, help you figure out how to farm through adversity. So we're just going to wrap up with a little bit of that. And if anybody needs a product guide, I'll walk around and hand you one if you need one to look at.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to try to kind of pull this together a little bit through the product information guide that we print. We put a lot of effort into this, and we think it's a pretty neat publication. It's not just about our products. Our products are included, but there's a whole bunch more. Most importantly is how to use the products.
3 days before I figured that out.
In this book, there is a massive amount of product in here. You're not going to be using nearly a fraction of it, maybe 10% at the most. One thing I also like to know is this is more fun. I've changed my title here for forage agronomist. That's really where my true passion is. And this stuff can be pretty exciting. So this is the product information guide. And Rod's going to be handing out door prizes during this session for those that interact. So we're going to bribe you to interact. So just real quick here. Bottom line, these forages and soil health are the keys to profit. When we think about forages, we want quantity, quality, harvest windows, crop rotation, and keep our costs under control. When we rotate our crops, our costs go down. It's really cool. Nutrient management is critical, and we need those healthy rations. And if we think about, you heard a theme about something growing about all the time. And let me tell you, out there right now, there is soil activity occurring, there's root activity occurring, and if you don't have a crop out there, it's not happening. Okay? So we got this whole calendar, and so we got the perennial crops See, grasses and alfalfas and all that stuff. We got the winter annuals, and these dates may not be appropriate for New York. Don't get excited about that. And then we got the summer annual thing in here. We really didn't talk about those today other than corn, which is a summer annual. And we got oats and that type of crop in the shoulder months as well. So we want production all times. Now these summer annuals, other than corn, they can set you up for planting the winter annuals. The comment was made, we run out of time growing corn. Well, there's a few good summer annuals that should be looked at that can break up a corn rotation and really give you super digestibility, and at the same time allow you to plant your triticale early. You notice you guys had yields up there pushing 3 tons. Well, let me tell you, if you get planted sooner yet, you'll be pushing 4 tons. We do that pretty commonly in further south. So it does make an impact. And cover crops, same thing with cover crops. We want something growing all the time. So the first section I want to focus on is the cool season perennials, and that's on page 6 to 25. And I'm going to focus on the mixtures. In my opinion, as a forage agronomist, mixtures is where it's at. I get bored with monocultures. Straight rye, straight triticale is kind of boring. Straight grass is boring. Straight alfalfa is boring. Why do I say that? The mixtures give you more even production throughout year after year. And they're also more nutritious for your animals as a general rule. Now the mixtures are on page 7 to 12. And I'm just going to quiz you guys a little bit. You'll notice that in the blue letters, it got them separated by how they're adapted. Adapted to good to drier soils, adapted to good to wet soils, or wetter soils. There's a difference there. Nothing's really adapted to wet soils. Adapted to variable soils. So for a door prize, we have a new mix that is adapted to variable soils, meaning it goes from wet to dry or dry to wet, and it's adapted to the north, and it's a high energy forage that can be used for adding to dairy rations, to increase the amount of forage you feed with less grain, or to a grass finished or fed livestock. So somebody pick that one out and we'll give them a door prize.
Balancer?
No.
Grass man?
No.
Everybody grab one and somebody will win.
It's got to be the Northern Energy mix. Northern Energy.
Northern Energy mix is the last one left. So if you read the descriptions up top, it will tell you what they're good for. Okay. So that Balancer and Grass Max are really designed for rugged fields. They're not necessarily high quality. They're designed to last and kind of yield issues. But this Northern Energy mix is more of a finesse mix that's going to give you high digestibility and good yields. Okay.
So that's going to be one of the better ones to put weight on beef cattle then?
Yes. And if for dairy, if you could even mix that with alfalfa if you wanted, whatever ratio you want to go with. As a general rule, the further north we go and the moister we are, the lower the seeding rates of grass. So as general rule in New York, we use lower seeding rates of grass to go with alfalfa. But you go south, we get into pretty high rates. So you can fool around with mixing it with alfalfa or straight. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. On pages 14 to 18, there is some information on alfalfa, even though you don't grow it. Okay, again, not all these products are for everybody because we have different soil types. So who can tell me who can explain fall dormancy scores? Is a high score, does it grow long or grow short into the fall?
The lower the dormancy, the sooner the plant will go into dormancy with reduced daylight.
Correct. Right here. And we have a couple prizes being given out here.
Explain this.
Yeah, I'll let you explain it.
So, probably a lot of you have seen a grazing stick before. This is not a grazing stick. This is a forage stick. So
Actually, it's more than that. It's grain stick
That's
too.
true.
It's agronomy stick.
An agronomy stick. There we go. So this is fashioned off of the original grazing stick. So on one side, of course, we got inch measurements. On one of the sides, we have corn information. So you can use this stick, lay it on the ground, count plants, and using the factor on here for your row spacing, come up with a population estimate.
Or it could be soybeans or forage sorghum or any row crop.
Any row crop. And then we also have a formula on here for estimating yield. You can use it the same way for estimating corn yield. On another one of the sides, we have our summer annuals, some information on summer annuals, some measurements on what to look for with that. And then on the last side is cool season grasses. So this would have some information for measuring pasture heights and cutting heights with a little bit of information on that. So this is a customized stick that we came up with. What would you like? Now that I tried to sell the stick.
I'll take it.
You must be a good sales guys, right? Okay, the next section is the cool season annuals, which is what the last talk included a good bit on that with Sarah, page 26 to 30. I want to just focus a little bit here on the page 27. As I said, I think mixtures are fun. So we're going to give a door prize to anybody in this room that has used one of our mixtures on that page. Anybody? In the past? Double play? Over here's a door prize. Did it work for you?
Yes, I have very long days with it.
Okay. Occasionally you plant that thing too late and you take a fall harvest and winter kills. Just a warning. So you got to, everything has to be harvested and planted on time. So if you do harvest it late, it's kind of like planting late. So that's just a caution on that one. So I'm glad we had good success because it is a good mix. Anybody else done any of those mixtures? Oats Plus, door prize over there. And somewhere over here? I got a couple. Did you plant it over there? Did your dad plant it or did you plant it? Yeah, you. All right. He definitely gets a door prize. And the whole key to these winter annuals, as talked about earlier, is get them planted on time. Now you can plant too early. If you plant too early and you're essentially 8, 10, 12, 14 inches tall, you better take a harvest in a timely manner so they can start regrowing again and harvest them on the high side. Okay, the next section, the warm season annuals. Page 31 to 38. And this is not including corn. So we do carry two corn brands, Master Choice and Kingfisher. Kingfisher's a new non-GMO line that we're carrying. So we already talked about corn, so I'm not going to talk about corn. So these are pretty exciting in that they set you up. Number one, they give you forage in the summer. They're more drought tolerant and water efficient than corn. We plant them later. We get them harvested earlier except for forage sorghum. That's an exception to that rule. And it sets us up for planting a cool season crop. So we're not waiting the whole way till corn harvest time. We're going after another crop. So on page 32 to 33, for a door prize, what is the optimum, well, what is the temperature we want to wait to until we plant one of these warm season annuals?
65.
Oh man, we had 2 or 3 over here. Be generous.
I have a question for you.
Yes, question.
Do you have anybody in New York growing?
Forage sorghum? A little bit. We're getting better products. So right now we have products that I'm going to say are fair. Give us about 2 more years and we will have good short season forage sorghums. Right now we have them in the plots, but they haven't been blown up yet. So it usually takes about 2 years after we get them identified to get enough to sell.
I was just wondering if anybody had any experience with milk production levels versus corn silage.
Okay, a brown midrib forage sorghum, if it is everything managed right, is much higher in sugar than corn silage. So the reality is feeding corn silage and forage sorghum will make more milk than either of them by themselves.
You higher protein, but less
A
starch.
little higher protein, not much higher protein.
Less starch.
Yeah, starch levels in the 15 to 20% range, whereas corn silage is more like 35 to 40.
We can't get quite the milk production out
What's that?
We can't get quite the milk production out of sorghum. We've done it for,
Have you mixed it with corn silage?
no, have not mixed.
You want to mix it with, the two together kind of are almost symbiotic where they just kick each other better. By itself in the south it does good. Understand we're not in its optimum range up here. This stuff likes 95-degree weather for it to be in peak production. How often does it get 95 up here? Occasionally.
Well, I'm down in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
We can grow it.
Okay.
We plant at the end of June and it's tremendous.
Okay. The hotter the year, the better the milk will be on that one, which is opposite of a lot of other crops.
If anybody has deer problems, deer will not touch it. They will not eat it.
Okay, we'll give another door prize to somebody that has used one of our prime millets last year. BMR prime millets. Anybody use that?
We did, but we already got a door prize. We did do
Okay.
a lot last year.
Okay, just a little comment about that. The millets handle the wetter soils a little better than the sorghum sedans and the sedans. They're maybe not quite as much yield, especially in the first cut, but they bounce back really fast from the first cut. And that brown midrib gene that's part of that millet takes it from a millet from a really good feed to super fiber digestibility, kind of almost off the charts. So that's an exciting one. That no prussic acid, good for grazing. It's something to consider trying.
So is that the 180 or the?
We're still trying to figure out which one we like better yet. They both seem to be pretty good.
How are they on dry matter tonnage?
About the same. One gets taller than the other one, but you really don't see that height difference until you let it get bigger than what we normally harvest it for, so it's not that big of an issue.
A little bit lower than the sorghum sedan or sedan.
Okay, that's what I just gonna ask, a little bit lower than the sorghum sedan.
As far as when you harvest, yes. Tonnage, yes, a little lower.
So with the Japanese millet, can you cut that twice, or is that just a?
And it's more of a one. You might get a second cut. Yeah, it's not as strong as maybe some of the other ones.
Well, I see that's the organic one. That's why.
Yeah, and that will, because that's going to be an average forage quality as opposed to these are going to be better. Okay, within here we have the summer annual manual, which we already kind of got one door prize off of that one. Management. The whole back half of this is a management section. What I like to do is I like to take something like Cornell has a crop guide or agronomy guide or something like that. Each state tends to have that. You take the local state guide and then you put our product information guide, including the management, together with that. You'll have a really good forage background. So for a door prize, who could tell me what section, what page number I would find the importance of soil health in. 65 over here somewhere. Okay, how about we're trying to do some crop rotation planning. What page number would that be on? 57. What was that? 57. 57, correct.
That's not a bad thing.
Can you talk a little bit about like Berseem clover and Balsana clover and stuff like that? There seems to be a big push.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to wrap up on this. I have a question from the front here. And the comment was, can I comment, because we're running out of time. So I'm just going to wrap up on, it was Berseem clover and Balanza clover. Okay, so Berseem clover is also known as Egyptian clover. And that is more or less acts like an annual in New York. And we would plant those in the spring. It's almost like an annual alfalfa. Okay? It likes the cool, moist conditions fairly well. Pretty good forage, pretty good nitrogen producer as well. And then the other one was Balanza clover. That is a tiny, tiny seed. And we're learning a lot about that. Bottom line, it needs to be planted either very, very, very early in the spring. It's kind of slow to start. Or about the same time you plant alfalfa in late summer. So I'm assuming that's probably in early August or to mid-August in this region. They're annuals. They give you nitrogen. They give you high quality feed if you want to harvest them. But they are annuals, so you got to set them up. One-year deals, so you have to set them up. So the Balanza can be a winter annual, but you got to plant